Alrighty there. Oh, go ahead.
Your audio.
Do you hear me now? I see my little bouncing audio. Hold on, we might be having some technical difficulties. If you people who are attending can see or rather can hear me, I see people in the chat. Can you post in the chat and just say yes, you can hear me, or no, you cannot? Yes. Okay. Wonderful. Cool. All right. Great. We got people
everybody,
joining.
give us just a second. Looks like Eric's getting his audio squared away, and then we will get into it.
I think the problem is Caitlin can't hear us, but we can hear her. You can hear me. All right, send her a quick message. All right, hold on one second, we'll get this sorted and we will go ahead and get started. All right, wonderful. Yes, let me go ahead and get things kicked off and started here. We are recording, so this should be good to go. And then I already see questions coming in the chat. Wonderful. Go ahead and keep typing. Be there in just a moment. So let me do a quick intro. And we'll go from there. My name is Eric Walmerink. Welcome to our daily Lunch and Learn. We host this call every Monday and through Thursday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern time. And it's just as it sounds. It's an open Q&A time for any of our customers or partners or prospects to come in and ask us really any questions you may have about decisions. They can be product related, they could be how to solve problems, they could be issues you're facing, they could even be, depending on who's speaking, about the company itself and product direction and how we'd like Virginia Beach or whatever questions you may have. So that's kind of the purpose and intent of these calls. It's really just time for us to connect to our customers and have an open space for you to get some face-to-face time with an expert over here at Decisions. So with that being said, like I said, I'm Eric Walmerink. I've been with the company about 9 years now. And I've done, being here so long, I've been here, done a little bit of everything. I started as a junior developer, worked my way up doing professional services and support work. I did IT security ops compliance. Most recently, I was a director of training. So I actually was the one who traveled around and built and created training programs and delivered those to our customers and partners. What I'm currently doing, though, is I'm actually our product manager. So I actually go and curate the product roadmap and understand the direction and future of Decisions. I meet a lot with customers and partners to get feedback and advice so that it can influence our roadmap. And really, I'm just kind of making sure that we're solving real world problems. And that's kind of my passion and goal right now. So with that, I have a bunch of content around the roadmap, which we can talk to, or like we've all said, where you guys can go ahead and start posting any questions that you may have. And there's a couple of ways we can do this. So if this is your first Lunch and Learn, the way that we can do this is you can either post in the chat and ask your questions there. There's also a question and answer panel where you can start typing things out. And I see Adrian is already going ahead and asking some questions there, and I'll address those in just a moment. Or on the attendees panel, if you want to actually ask your question verbally, you can raise your hand there and we can take you off mute and you can actually ask your question that way as well. So that's what we'll be doing today, and we'll go as long as people have questions. Let me go ahead and take a look here. Let me clear some of these out. Can you share your screen? Okay, let me go ahead and read what your question is, and then yes, I think maybe sharing your screen might be the best, but I'll take a look. I have a form. Inside of a form, there is an advanced data grid. Awesome. The user would like to be able to upload a file, and then every time the user uploads, the previous records will update the active fields to inactive. Okay. And then the new file with the same description fields will increase by 1 for the version number. Okay. So if I understand this correctly, let me repeat the use case back, and then we can show your screen. Maybe would help it as well. Is you have a form, and you're going to on the form have a list of data in an advanced data grid. with a bunch of records, records of something or other. Every time a user clicks a button and uploads a new record, all of the previous records will become inactive, and then the new one will have an increased version number. So you have a bunch of records, they're version 1, someone clicks add, the added one becomes version 2, and the previous one becomes stays version 1 and gets set to inactive. Okay, I think I understand the use case, if that sounds correct. Version number will always be increased by 1. Wonderful. Yeah, that's definitely a use case either I can build out, or if there's something you want to share on your screen. Let's see if we can make you, oh, you already pop it in there. Wonderful. Yeah, Adrian, there you go.
I can share my screen here. Hi, Eric.
Wonderful. Hi, how are you
Nice
today? Let me
to
stop
meet
sharing
you.
mine.
And I'm Adrian. I'm from the Activant. So I would like to share my screen
Wonderful. Yep.
to to illustrate it to you right now. Okay,
Perfect.
so right now this is my flow, and I try to debug, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just now I would like to show you like this. Basically, I have a form, and then I can upload the file. I can upload the file, right? And
Okay.
choose the file description. For example, basically I already have this NSG summary, the file description, NSG summary. And then I would like to renew my NSG summary file name. Basically, I have this already. And then the previous record, the old version, the active will change it to no, inactive. So
Mm-hmm.
the newest version of NSG summary, the version will be increased like from version 1 to become version 2,
Mm-hmm.
increasing by 1 every time the new file has been uploaded. But right now I use a constant value for version numbering.
Okay.
Understood what I'm saying? The
Yeah,
use
I
case
understand.
already added. Okay,
Yep, totally
so
good. Do
basically
you just, oh, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah.
this is overall for my flow, right?
Okay.
And then this is the create attachment, and then file upload, file name, file description, and the attached file. And then the version, I just make it as a constant. But by right, I think I just need something like increasing. I don't want to make it as a constant, so they can increasing automatically every time the document is uploaded.
Yep, exactly. So
Yeah.
there's the only problem we have here is that your version is a string. So it's going to be hard to like auto increment with like an add number step to make it a 2 without doing some parsing first, which is totally possible. So if you want to keep the V in there, no problem. But there's a couple of steps
Because
that you'll probably need to. Oh, go ahead.
because I would like to keep it the V. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The
No
prefix, the
problem.
prefix will start from the V.
Wonderful. Yeah, let me what I think you'll do, there's 2 ways to accomplish this that I think would be really simple. The one is that, and actually they're both very similar. I think you build a flow that does some checking work and gives you a new version number. So really what it would
Okay.
do, let me actually go ahead and share my screen. It'll be a little bit faster if I do it this way.
Okay. Can you do it on my side?
I'll do it on mine and I can export it just because just the
I
performance
see.
will be a little bit better. Oh, except I should already be
Noted,
in here.
noted.
And I'll just export this and give it to you because I think it's relatively
Yes, yes,
simple.
yes. Can export
Okay.
it later
Yep,
on. Yeah.
you bet. Let me
But
just create a
just in
really quick.
case, you also need to create the data structure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna create just a really quick conversion flow, and then we can play with it from there. So
Because the file name and file description, right? The file description you also can make it the file name, file
mhm,
description, and then active. Yeah.
mhm,
So let's keep it like this. Have
yep,
you created
okay.
the data structure already?
I don't, for this quick example, I don't really need a data structure. I'm just going to show a really quick way to like parse the text out
Okay.
and automatically calculate the next version number. And
I
then you can take
see.
this and either add it as a step prior to your add record step, or you can put it as like a conversion flow on the other step and say run converter flow and calculate it that way.
I see. But
But yeah, I think this
I
is okay.
understood.
Cool. I think this is relatively simple. We take in the previous version number. We can go to our toolbox that first looks at things like text. And what we want to do is we want to strip off the V to begin with, right? So we're going to, it's going to be called remove characters from start. I think it's characters, and I think this is index. Yeah. I'm gonna have to do some testing because I haven't used these steps in a while. But we're gonna first take in our previous version number, and we're gonna remove, I'm gonna say one, the first index should be the first character, but we'll test this, and then we'll call this output just version number, right? Let's do a quick test, see how this works. I give this V1, I expect the output of this step to just be the number 1. Perfect, great. It's still a string. So the other thing I would want to do is convert this to a string. Now we already do have a pre-built converter that is convert string to integer. So if it's a whole number, great. We can also convert it to a decimal if you're not going to use a whole number. But this should be relatively simple. What we're going to do is we're going to take just version number, and then we're going to call this, maybe we should make this even really clear as string. And then we're just going to call this version number. Now, after this, says that path is not valid. Oh, because I changed the name of it. Silly me. Perfect.
Because it was rename it, right? And still to read.
Yep. Now we can just do a very simple math step. It's just going to add 2 numbers together. What we're going to do is we're going to add whatever the previous version number is, which I have now just as version number. We're going to add it as 1. We're going to call this new version number. And then finally, finally, we can output from here our, updated version number.
Updated version number.
Back to a string. And we can do this with a really simple text merge and say, add the V back in because you wanted the V. And we want our new version number right after it. So not as a decimal though, hold on. We'll want this as a unformatted. I want just the, hold on, default. I always forget how we do this. No decimals, no separator. Yeah, so I mean, this is all just formatting for that string to make sure it's consistent with however you want your text to look. And so now this is just a reusable flow that you can use anywhere in your process. And just to make sure that works, say we're on version 5, I expect the output of this to be V6, and it is. So it takes a couple steps, but it's really simple. Take your string, remove the V, convert it to a
understood.
number, add 1.
For
Perfect.
this one, I really understand, but
Good.
how can the user check if the file is already there or not? For example, the file name is already there or not?
Yeah, so I mean, that one, again, you'll probably need a little check flow. What step do we want to use here? Let me think about this for a minute. We want to see, if item is in list. Maybe that's it. This one, you're right. I probably should have a structure of sorts, but I'm going to look at our toolbox very quickly because I believe under list, I know there's a step somewhere. Index of item in list, get item by index.
Are you looking for string in list?
String in list, yeah. Is it not here? I thought it was here, or am I just not seeing it?
You should just type it.
Yeah, that'll be the easiest. I'm going crazy. String is in list. Okay. So this step here is probably going to be the one that you use. It's a relatively simple step. It just returns true and false. And again, you could put this in a small subflow but you would take in as a list your previous file names. So I could have, picture.png, and I could have item.txt and something else, .jpeg.
This one is a file name or the file description? Because I just
This-
want to check the file description is already there or not.
Either one. This is taking a
Okay.
list of strings. The description can be your string, or all the file names can be your string, or you could have two of these steps and check both if you wanted.
Okay.
The
Understood.
value coming in would be whatever the new file name is.
The file
And
name,
actually,
right? Okay.
yeah, and actually to make this more useful, I would have this as a list of existing files coming in. Oh, list. There we go. And then we can run the step this way. So yeah, all this step will do is it'll take in a list. So this is a list of descriptions, a list of files, whatever it may be, and it will check a new value. So this is your new file name coming in. And you can also choose whether you want case sensitivity. So if you want to make sure it matches casing exactly or not, most time you leave that as true because you don't care if it's case sensitive. And then you get a true and false. So if it matches, then you could go do some work to like set the previous one. You'll have the previous one, so set the previous one to inactive and create the new one. And if it doesn't exist, you just create a brand new record and call it version 1, right? So now you have a branching path here to do whatever you may want.
Okay, I understood already. But how can we, because I already stored the data in the database, right? For the active and the version, what is the step? What is the step name to change to update the entities?
Yeah, you bet. It might actually just be called update entities. So there's an update entity.
Right?
There's two of them. You want update.
Okay.
Which one?
Because last time when I did update entity, right, it updating the whole record. That's why I'm a little bit confusing of using the update entity.
Gotcha.
I don't want to update the whole record, but I only want to update for the previous record with the file description name is the same, and then create a new data with the latest version number increment by 1. Just now you're saying that one I already understood.
Yeah. So to answer that question, do you know what data structure you're using? What type you're using here? Is it an entity?
Okay. For the attachment, I'm using the database structure. Yes, that's right. I'm using this.
Let me just try this. Some of our steps are data structures, and I'm not sure which one have a selective update, which means that you don't have to map all the data back in to update it. You would just need to map the changed entity. And let me just see if database structure is one of those. Let's see what we get here. Yeah, selective update. So if you go in your toolbox and you find your user-defined types, go to your database structure, find your structure.
Selective update, right? Okay,
selective update. Yeah, so, and in the selective update, why am I not getting interesting? I think I opened my flow too fast and my data structure did not compile. So let's see if this is going to work. There we go. Yep. So it has to have the ID so it knows which row to update, and anything else that's set to ignore won't be touched on the database side. But if you then map data into here, it will change that field.
Okay. So the ID is coming from where? Yeah?
The ID, you'll have to have it somehow. So if you want to update an existing record, you'll need to have fetched that record somewhere and know the ID of it. So you could, if you have it in a list already, because your flow already had the list in the data grid, most likely that data grid has the IDs in it. Or if you ran something like a fetch entities and searched for that record, the output of this should have that as well. So say here, I want to go find a specific record. And this is another way to actually, you could potentially skip this string in less step as well. If I go get my structure and I say, fetch me anything from the database that matches some set of fetch criteria. So where the name contains, Eric Welmering, or and other criteria. You could have as many of these criteria as you want. This will say there's no results, so I don't do a selective update. Maybe I go create a new record. Or if there are results, then do a selective update. And the output of this, called entity results, should have your ID on it. So I could say, okay, I need to go update from my results, the first one that I found, update its ID, and then choose which fields I choose to update. I don't have to map anything else.
Okay.
I only can map here the things I want to change.
Okay. But the thing is, like, when I get the first record, right,
Mhm.
it will take on the first record, right?
Mhm.
They will
Yeah,
take
so
on the first record, but I don't want to be like that. Maybe I have a record on the middle. How?
So that's, that's again, you'll have to be really careful about this logic here before you do the update. So the fetch entities can do several fetch criteria. You can combine as many of these as you want. You also can sort them. So maybe if you have like a date field, you want to sort by the most recent. So that's the first one. You also can output if there's only one result. So you can actually have 3 outputs here and say, if there's only one result, I know the item. So go do the selective update. If there's no results, we're going to go create a brand new one. And if there's many results, I need to do some more filtering logic, right? I need to go either do an array filter step, a collection filter, that's the step it's called, and run a flow to filter out certain values, or I need to sort my array. There may be some other logic, some other things you need to do here to get to the record you want. And then once you've filtered it out, you may then potentially selective update. So your entire process, and again, this is not knowing the full thing, might look something like this, where you get the record you want. If you don't have the existing record, go create a new one. If you only have one record in the database, just update it. If you have multiple records coming back based on your search criteria, do some filtering logic and then update the one that I want. So it might be similar to something like this.
Okay, but okay. So the first thing for my current flow, right? What I need to do now is I just need to check if the file exists or not. The first thing first. If it exists, if not exists, let's make it as a constant is okay for v1.
Totally.
If not exists, right? And then the next thing, after checking the file, and then they will upload into the database, right? So I can see into my data grid, right? And then secondly, after I check, I would like to re-upload on the file again. So I just need to check again the file existing, right? Check file existing and check the version number.
Yep.
No, remove the first character, right? And convert from string to integer. The next, increment by 1 using the add step. After that, selective update into the database table. And then next, to create a new database table, right? That's it.
Yep, that should do it. That sounds like
Okay.
it should meet your use case.
Yes, understood. But actually, I had a question, right? For right now. Okay, can I share my screen?
Yeah, certainly. Let me go ahead and stop sharing.
Okay, I would like to have this question. Okay, so right now, when I debug, I trying to write down something, and I would like to upload the file. For example, for this. After I press save, right, they're closing the form. I don't want the user see the closing form.
Okay.
Can we do that instead of closing the form?
Certainly, yeah. So that save button is here again. Let me share my screen. I'll pause your
Okay.
sharing. Oh, where's my
Yes,
Ah.
you stopped already.
Perfect. Yeah. So there's a couple ways to exit a form. Let's look at our controls
Exit
really
the form
quick.
after a user action, right?
Oh, did I do a simple form? I did the wrong form. Hold on. Yeah, exactly. So create a form, standard form. So a couple different actions you can take here. If you have a button, which is what you have here, and you just have a button and you called it save, this will always leave the form and then, potentially come back and reload the form if you need to. But the other option you can have here is if you come to events, there is an event button. And what the event button does is anytime a person clicks it, it will actually be a trigger for something on the back end to happen. And the way you trigger something on the back end is now you could come over here to your active form flows or potentially your data flows, depending on what version you're on. And you can go say the trigger for this active form flow is someone clicking this event button. And this flow will just run in the background. So you can go create a flow over here.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Okay.
does all
But
your saving.
Okay, if I use the event button, right?
Mhm.
How can we? Because okay. If I use the event button, right, and then
Mhm.
I'm a little bit confused because I want the user can see the updated records in the data grid.
Yeah, you want the form to update again?
Because if I updated, right, if the user, if the form is closed, they updating the data grid, right? They're
Yeah, no problem.
updating the data into the data grid. But I also want immediately updated also, but don't close the form.
Perfect. Yeah, so this active form flow, even though you can go like run snips that does that moves thing in the database, etc., you also have a bunch of steps here that can set controls, values, and hide and show controls and do things. So the one you'd want to do is once you do your saving event, your validation, everything like that, you could say set control value. You can go pick, oh, I don't have a data grid here. So I would have to have it a data grid, but you would come here to form data, you'd pick your data grid. Let me pick, I guess, my button for now. And then you could change the list of input values here using this set control value step. So in this one active form flow, you can have them click, it could be triggered by that event button. It goes and does the saving and updates the parent form with the new data so that it just refreshes on their screen. And then that way on their screen, they don't see anything change. They just click the button, the report updates, and it went and saved to the database, but they don't have that closing and opening form. So active form flows are going to be the best way to accomplish that.
Active form flow, right? Okay, noted. Okay,
Cool.
I think that's all for my question. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Really appreciate it with you.
Yeah, you bet. And I know that's like really the only useful thing is this top flow, but if you want it, I'm happy to export and send it to you. Cool. Yep, I'll send it as soon as we're done.
I understood already.
Great.
So
Okay.
I can continue on my side.
Wonderful. All right. Well, great. Thanks for your questions. Let us know if you have any more. In the meantime, looks like we have another question coming in from Greg. Let's see if I can hopefully address this one. It says, I did close the ticket a while back. I'm not sure what the issue was resolved. I'm wondering how to delete a case entity permanently using a flow and archive settings. Ooh, this is actually, this is really topical for me because we're updating the way we do archiving in the future for case entity specifically. So let's take a quick look here. I'm going to go ahead and build a really simple case entity. We'll call this like support ticket, case entity, example, not a name you would ever use. But we're going to have, I guess, ticket number gets generated automatically. We're going to have a, submitter. We're going to have a escalation state. No, I guess state that's part of the case. Man, what else do I want to put here? Severity. Maybe we could have a criticality, which is a little different than severity, I know, but almost the same thing. Submitted date, etc. Whatever, doesn't matter. Are you muted? You probably are if you wanted to talk about it. Let me go ahead and make sure we can unmute you, sir. Oh, I don't have the authority. Caitlin, do you mind allowing Greg to speak real quick? There we go. You should be able to unmute, sir. Oh, I see the unmuted, but I do not. Oh, you're switching sides. That's why. There we go.
Thanks, Eric. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, sir.
All right, yeah, because in the future we're gonna have like hundreds of thousands of case entities, and on the back end, once they get deleted, they kind of don't get deleted; they just get marked in the extended folder, pretty much.
Yep.
But they still linger in the background. So I was wondering, how to eventually we're gonna have to clean these up. All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's not. I thought, no, you bet, man. Were you working with actually Josiah on this? Have you talked to him, Josiah Eldenfritz?
I'm not sure. I had an open ticket for a while on it. We've had a few different guys handling our tickets, so I'm not really sure about that one. It was a while back though.
Gotcha. No worries. No worries. I'm not sure if it was for you specifically or from other customers, but yeah, this is a problem. Is just for the broader audience, you create your case, you have these things. If someone creates a case, which I didn't do a good job of allowing myself to do, hold on one second. Here, just allow me to create. Oh, I can add one. Okay. How do I just let me create one? Delete, edit, show, add with data. Oh, I guess that already exists. Okay. Sorry about that. So if I have a case here, add case, support ticket case example, some issue with the thing, description, criticality is high, the severity is low, submitted today. What's today, the 29th? Submitter was me.
Just to add in, and we're using, I'm not sure if it matters, but 7.10. It's kind of an older version.
Okay. So
Not sure if
what
that
I'm going to
matters.
talk about it matters a little bit, because what I'm going to talk about is going to be version 8. So here's the problem Greg is describing. If I right click and say manage delete folder, it sounds great. I think it's deleted. Okay, it doesn't let me delete. It should have just let me delete that. Oh, it got deleted anyway. Okay. It looks like it's deleted, but it's really not. It's sitting in the database and it's flagged as deleted. And if I come here, I can actually go find my thing with the right, I have to go to folder view. With the right report here and the right administrative access, I could actually go find my deleted thing and undelete it if I wanted to. You can see that here. Now that's potentially a problem. It's great if you want to keep something around for a little bit of time, but eventually need it removed from the database, because as Greg mentioned, when you have hundreds of thousands of these, they're going to be sitting in the backend database, bloating and creating space and issues. That's a big problem. So there's 2 ways to combat this, the things that we're doing. Currently, what we have is we do have a way to archive certain things, but it's a little confusing if I'm being perfectly honest. And you could do this in your current version. But if you go to your archive settings, you can search for it. I believe it's under system settings. I'm just filtering. I think it's under archive settings. You can actually come into here and say, I want to archive something after a certain amount of time that's been deleted, and that will permanently delete it from the database. Or you can do it by specific type. So I could go find my support. What did I call that? Ticket. I'm not seeing it in here, but I should be able to find that type and choose this is going to be deleted after 90 days, which means that anything I've deleted and has been flagged for deletion after that period of time will get permanently deleted from the database. But that's not actually archival, right? That's like data cleansing, that's purging, which may not be exactly what you want. So what we've done is in version 8.6, 8.5, whatever the next version coming out is you will be able to go to any state and specifically flag it for archival, which then will give you a series of settings where you can actually choose how the data gets archived. So what you can do is you can say, if I get to the completed state and my process gets the completed state, there'll be another checkbox here that says archive entity or archive case or whatever it's called. You'll choose how long it is once it's in that state until it gets archived. So once it hits completed, it's 30 days, 90 days, a year, whatever it may be. And then you can set up an archival location. That could be another database, an external database connection. That could be a file storage, and we'll create a flat file and push it there. That could even be another table in the decisions database, but that's not your primary actively running table. And that's a little silly, but that is an option. So what you'll be able to do is for any case on any state in that case, choose your own archival settings for that specific case. And that should help with some of that database bloat and things as well. The problem with this, the other option is it actually has to be deleted first, and then it gets permanently deleted after some purge event, X number of minutes later or X number of days later. So those are the two ways you can solve that problem of preventing it from being too bloated, I guess.
I don't think I'm seeing the structure in the archive settings though.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. I'm wondering
You
if
know?
something is off there.
I mean, I tried it with the case structure. I noticed when you typed in case there, it does bring in a case data structure, which might be like a global type of deal. But
Yeah.
I set that for just to experiment in my test environment just for a day or two, and it didn't delete the deleted. You know what I'm saying? Like I still had to delete entities in there after that time period passed.
Yeah, I should be able to see it here. This feels a little bit like a bug then, because I know that's how this should work. Interesting. Okay. So let me do, wait, did we move that? Hold on. I'm gonna check one more thing. Make sure I'm not crazy. I know we talked about moving some of the archival settings here on the case itself. Make sure I'm just not missing it. Nope, not seeing it. No, audit. That's not archive. Okay, let me double check on that one. That feels a little bit like a bug. Where's my notepad? There you are. Hold on 1 minute. But yeah, I mean, that's even at the end of the day, deleting anything, permanently deleting anything that's been deleted is not exactly ideal, right? Like that's not the best way to do a proper archival.
Yeah, sure.
So let me I'm going to pause my screen sharing because I have some mock-ups of this somewhere. That's the design document. We don't care about that. It looks like they removed my access wisely because I share things that I shouldn't share. Anyway, yeah, so I think in the future, what you'll want to consider is at least on version 8, you'll want to consider how to properly archive, old case data over time. And then we're going to give you all the settings and steps you need to do that on the actual case structure itself. In the meantime, let me double check on those archive settings and see what's going on there.
Okay.
Good question.
Should I follow up somehow or?
I'll follow up with you as soon as we're done.
Okay, cool.
I'll reach out. Give me a little bit of time today to go check with the team, but then I'll reach out to you.
Sure. By email would be all right.
Yeah.
Or okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I should, as long as you're fine with me emailing the email you registered with.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yep.
Perfect. Archival settings. Case not showing up. Cool. I will double check. Any other questions while you're off mute?
I do have another one. I don't want to hold up anybody else that's tight on time. It's a quick one, kind of. I was just wondering if it was possible to, in active form flows, it only allows you sync steps. In my version, I was just wondering if it's possible to show another form within the active form flows.
Great question. Not within active form flows, but you can do it through subdialogues. So there's a whole other button here. It's very similar to an active form flow, but is a little different because there's UI involved. Where you could have a button here that pops up, another form. Show another form on top, right? You go and you pick a form, let's go pick an existing. I don't have an existing one. We'll create a new sub dialog flow. Let's see how fast I can do this. Create a simple form called, something else. Nope, I don't have an existing one. We'll do a simple form here. Great. This is just gonna have a button on it. Great. And that button is going to not do anything. But again, this behaves like a form flow because you can push data back to the parent form, make changes to that original form, update stuff in the database. I mean, you have the full toolbox as well, just like you do in an active form flow. So this will, if I run this, what it looks like is when I click that, it will just pop up my other form on top. You'll see the other parent form still existing in the background. I could enter data, make changes, and say done. And if I chose to push data back to this form, it would do so. So you can do subdialog in multiple form display activities, but you don't do it on active form flows. You do it in the subdialog flow.
All right, perfect.
Cool.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, you bet. I feel like I'm doing good with questions today. Normally I get stumped all the time because I'm not that smart, but this is
No,
you guys are making me feel really smart today. All right, let me just double check questions. I think I got all the questions. I don't see any hands raised. Yeah, let me just pause for another quick minute, see if anyone has anything they want to ask of me. And if not, we can go ahead and probably wrap things up a little early. Going once. Going twice. All right. Wonderful. Oh, Andrew came back right as I was about to end. All right. Let's go ahead and allow you to speak. And you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. I think is it possible if I can share my screen to you? Because
Let me stop sharing.
a little confused.
You're gonna have to unmute yourself one more time.
Okay,
There
I
you
think I already share my screen right now,
Yep.
and I would like to. Okay, so the first thing first, right? I have this create attachment, but before that, before I'm checking out, before I create the attachment, I think the first thing I just need to check the file existency, right? How can we do that? Yeah, to check the file, does it exist or not for for example, the file name or the file description. For example, the file description is still empty, so they will recreate from the scratch. Yeah, how can we check the file?
Got it. So you just want to check if it exists in the database, right?
Yeah. What we
Wonderful.
need to do?
Yeah, I think that
Should
fetch
we
entities.
use the
I think
fetch entities?
fetch entities is probably your best bet because that's going to actually go search the database. And then so first what you'll do is you'll grab this, you'll pick your data structure type under type name.
Okay. So fetch after the fetch entities, right? Okay. If there's no result, wait, because the fetch entities, right, is to check whether the file existency, right? To check the whole record if this, but I just want to check for the specific fields for the file description. For example, if my file description because I have a couple of 4 type of file description, right? For NHG, CP, something like that. For the NHG summary is still empty, the user can upload based on the create attachment, something like that.
Right. Yeah, so on the
Yeah.
fetch entities step, if you click the fetch entity step, you're first going to
Okay.
try to search by certain type. So that's going to be attachment, I think.
attachment,
is what it looks
right?
like. Yep.
Understood.
And then
And then
a few then it says fetch criteria. To go up a couple and say
fetch
add.
criteria, and then
Yep,
I
and
just
you-
want to check based on the file description, right?
Yep. So click file description. If you it's a straight equals, it sounds like. So then yeah, you'll hand in whatever you're trying to find, whatever description you're trying to find. Looks like
Okay, because this one, the file description is based on the selected item. I select
Perfect.
this is existences or not. Is to check whether I have a data grid, something like this, file name, and a file description. Because in my form, I need to choose the file description for example, PRCP or NSG, for example, right?
Mhm.
And of course, if I select, if I fetch criteria and choose the selection for the file description, I think they will say, okay, so I found it already. But but the thing is like, for example, in my data grid is no data at all. No data. Then they will I uploading the first one. So I
there's
will upload the file
Okay.
name, for example, NSG, and then my file description also NSG,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So no data is already no more. But I just
Got
want
it.
to check whether if the NSG is this exists or not in the record.
It depends on how you save it, but it should. If you're saving NHG as the file description, then yes, that will be what it searches the database for on this fetch criteria. So this is basically just a query filter for the database, right? So when you
Yes.
say fetch all my attachments, and if the file description equals whatever they've selected, then I'm going to return some results back. So that's why you have two paths coming off the fetch entities. No results means there was nothing in the database with this file description.
I see.
So I think you had that. I think you had that mapped correctly. That looked fine, right?
I think I just need to check based on the all file description, right?
Yeah. So if you want to do it this way, so there's two problems here. One is that you're looking in the database to see if it exists, to fetch the record, but you're running this as an active form flow. So you actually, I'm going to recant my earlier statement. You don't need a fetch entities step. You can actually do a string in list step here because then you don't need to call the database again. So let's try this and see if it works. String is in list or string in list.
String is in this.
Perfect.
It's in list, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And so now,
then,
yeah, your list is going to come from the data grid. So you can do data grid, file data grid, all descriptions, all file descriptions. Perfect.
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect.
And then you can say done. The value you're searching for
example, NSG summary. I think I will have more string is in list, right? Because I have this one, right? PRCP and then NSG. So I will need four string is in list, right?
Well, isn't that something they pick on the form though? Don't they choose that drop down to pick the file description first?
Okay, because I have four. I have for example, right now I have two, and then I will need to copy and paste again for this one, right?
Right, but how do they pick an NHG summary? Isn't that a drop down that they are selecting?
There is a drop. I mean, there is a drop down or not? Yeah, I think no drop down at all because it's to check on the record in my data grid.
But I guess what I'm trying to understand, I'm making sure I understand the use case, is that we're searching from the records from what they've chosen from a dropdown, right? So they from a dropdown say
Searching
PRCP,
from the record,
and then,
sorry.
Okay.
Searching from the records, not from the dropdown.
Oh, okay. So maybe walk me back to the form, if you don't mind, real quick. I want to see what the interaction is that we're trying to then filter here.
So I will go back to this.
Yeah. Perfect.
Let's save it and debug. This one.
Right.
I just want to check whether if like NSG summary is already accessed or not.
Okay. And then what are you gonna do with that? Like, so this is when they click the save button, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they first have to select a file to upload. So they select a file, and then aren't they going to be picking a description?
Yes. For example, for CA report, and then the
Mhm.
user need to choose the PRCP.
Perfect. So we know that we want to see if PRCP exists in the list, right? And it looks like in your
Yes.
flow here, there's 2 of them. So we'd have to do something with that. So I think it's only
Because I
one
have
in list. Oh, go ahead.
okay. So I will go back to the form, right? Edit, and then try to go back again. Add the active form flow, right?
Mhm.
And then edit the rules. Should we still need to use the string is in list?
I think so.
Okay.
And then
But
yeah,
the
your list.
existence.
Yep, your list is going to be the same. We're going to take it from the advanced data grid and all the folder descriptions.
Data grid,
Mhm.
and then file description. But
Yep.
the value.
The value will be picked from the dropdown, right? Whatever they've selected in the dropdown, the output of this step will be whether or not that item exists in the list. Does that make sense?
Selected item, right?
Yep. So now you have a
Okay.
true and false path. So it's going to say, and you could set that to, I would set that to probably true, right? Or maybe false. It depends on whether you want case
Okay.
sensitive. So now we've seen the file they've selected and the options they select in form. Does it already exist in my data grid? If the answer is true, now you need to go figure out which one and do a selective update, right? If it's false, that's where you can go create a brand new one and do the create step that you had before.
Okay, understood. So for the false, it will create the new one, right?
Yeah, and that's where you can hard code V1.
Okay, so I can hard code it the V1. I see, understood. I think until right now, I already got the idea on how I need to do. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I think that'll get you started. And again, if you get stuck again or have more questions, feel free to reach out to support or hop on another one of these lunch and learns.
Okay, understood. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, I'll steal back screen sharing. Well, cool. Great. Well, now we are button up to time, and I didn't see any other questions. Oop, and let me check the participant panel really quick. Make sure no one has their hands raised. All right, I think we're running up on time, so I will go ahead and wrap things up here. Thank you, everyone. Great questions and great interactions. Those were a lot of fun. And hopefully we got a few answers for you guys. Greg, I'll follow up with you shortly after this call when I get some more information on those archival settings and what's going on there. Otherwise, yeah, I hop on these every so often, so I'll most likely see you guys in another lunch and learn or at a product roadmap review or something along those lines. So thank you, everyone, for your time. Appreciate the work, and take care. I hope you all have a good day.
Thanks so much, Eric. Great talk today.
Thank you.